Hey everyone, Stefan here. In this video I want to show you Multisculpt 2.0. There's a few very nice features which I've added to it, and there's also some significant performance improvements. So firstly, here's the add-on. It's in the same position in the end panel under Multisculpt. It's mostly the same UI, but I don't actually use this one anymore very much. I still use some of the options, but mostly I use it with the mode spy menu, because now it comes with a custom mode spy menu where if you have multiple objects selected, multiple mesh objects, you don't need to create Multisculpt. You can just enter sculpt mode, and it's not going to only enter sculpt mode on the active object as it normally does, but it will automatically create your Multisculpt object, with the exact same rules as before. You mustn't change the number of vertices of this object or your original objects. Any modifiers you have on your original objects are going to be disabled while you're in your Multisculpt object, and they are going to be preserved when you go back. So once you do, whatever sculpting you want to do, you can use the mode spy menu again and just go back into object mode. And you'll see you have your original objects with the transformations. And if you remember in version 1's video, this transfer took about 10 seconds, and now it took like 0.09 seconds or something. And you can check it here in the system console as before. So those are the two major improvements. So right now, I'd say this is now finally seamless, completely seamless, just like I always wished Blender worked in the first place. So go into sculpt mode if you have multiple objects. I'm still getting the warning because there's a bunch of objects which are instances of each other. And go back into object mode and you're done. One object goes into object mode as normal. You can still switch and go into object mode. It works as normal. And this applies to any modes. So you can go into vertex paint mode as well. It'll automatically turn on transfer color data if you do it like this. And you can paint something. It's still a bit slow because it's quite a lot of geometry, but the transfer itself, boom, and it's done. So go back. That's pretty much how to use the add-on. There's a few things which are good to keep in mind. Again, if you haven't watched the previous version's how-to video, like I said, the modifiers, the instancing is something important. And now you also get this button here to clear mesh instancing, which any objects which are multi-user, their mesh data blocks are multi-user, which I'm not sure which ones they are at this point, I don't remember. But if any of them are multi-user, you can press this button and it's going to clear mesh instancing. I assumed that Control A, make instances real, did this, but it doesn't. So clear mesh instancing, and now you can enter sculpt mode, and now we should be good to go without the warning. And go back. And your modifiers, again, I had a bunch of modifiers and they are going to be preserved, and deformations and everything. The other important thing is whenever you do anything to an object that has this has an old shape key from the previous version, but now if you do anything to an object that has shape keys, the deformations are going to go into the basis instead of a new shape key. This is something a lot of users requested, so now I've written it to do this. Another nice feature is you'll notice there's a checkbox here for delete multisculpt object, which is on by default, and this just will automatically delete the multisculpt object once you go back into object mode. Because I noticed anytime I use this and go back and the object was left in the scene, and it kind of cluttered the scene because I didn't have any use for it anymore. So now this is going to be automatically deleted if you want it to, so it doesn't clutter your scene and you don't have to delete it manually. Now transfer color data is pretty self-explanatory, but now it's updated to take the active color attribute. There's only one on this object, but it's going to take the active color attribute. Before it only worked with the first one, And whenever you transfer back, it'll transfer back to the active color attribute of each of your original objects. And it's going to take it from the active color attribute of the Multisculpt object as well. So it's much more versatile, and I hope it's going to be useful to you. Transfer vertex groups as well, or weight painting is, I think, very useful if you have a bunch of objects which are rigged with the same armature. And now you can paint weight on all of them at the same time. So that's going to be useful, I hope. And auto clear instancing is going to automatically clear instancing on any objects upon transferring your Multisculpt data. So if you didn't do this before making the Multisculpt object, you can do this, and you can turn on this checkbox and it'll apply it automatically. Now, multi-res apply base all is still here, but I also made it to automatically apply it anyway if you have any objects with a multi-res modifier on them, because I think there's really no point to not have anything you're sculpting in multi-res be applied to the base. But if you ever want to do it manually, it's available here as well. Now, isolate and hide, I think, are very useful as well. If you have a Multisculpt object and you do whatever, deformations. Let's say I want to raise the arms again. And now I can isolate this object or hide it again from the pie menu. These are going to show up if you have a Multisculpt object selected, or if you have at least one object selected which has a Multisculpt object associated with it. So I can hide it. Now I don't have a Multisculpt object selected, so it's not here, but now I can isolate it back. So I can switch between the Multisculpt mesh and the original objects which are associated with it. So now, if I'm happy with the results, I can go into object mode and, the modifications are done. Except, I kind of missed here the arm. So let's go back in here, sculpt mode, and let's fix this. Oop, and it's done. It's pretty useful considering that these are separate objects. This would have been kind of a pain to do, with the normal sculpting of just the active object. Now, about this pie menu, there is something I should say. The version I'm using is the auto fast version, which is not the default one, because you'll notice there's this caveat here that it may lose undo steps after transfer. And this happens, I don't want to get into it too much. It happens because Blender has separate undo stacks for sculpt and object modes. And whenever you run a script from inside sculpt mode and then that script switches modes, it kind of loses the undo steps you had in sculpt mode. So whenever you do anything in sculpt mode, let's say you do a bunch of strokes, so we can count how many they are, go back into object mode with the Multisculpt scripts. And now if I want to undo, I can, but I have to undo a bunch of times, and I'm going to lose all of these strokes, and it's going to bring me back to when I first created the Multisculpt object. And I've tried a few hacky ways to work around this, but so far nothing has worked. So if this bothers you, it doesn't bother me, so I keep it in this mode. But if it bothers you, you can use Auto Multisculpt, which is the default. And what it does is exactly the same, but whenever you go into object mode, it'll first just go into object mode. And if you open the pie menu again, now you get transfer Multisculpt. So you just have to go left twice instead of once, and you can transfer your data, and you are going to keep all of the brush strokes you did in sculpt mode. So if I did the same thing here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then go into object mode and then transfer, and then undo, 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 and we get all of the undo steps. Or you could use manual Multisculpt. So it's again, it's got the same default features, but you can manually create and transfer your Multisculpt objects. So you don't get isolate and hide in this pie menu, but you still have easy access to create and transfer. And these are going to work as just the default pie menu. So it'll only enter sculpt mode for the active object and vertex and texture paint and weight paint mode. So I'm trying to keep this as brief as possible. I don't have any time to record anything nowadays, but I hope I didn't miss anything important. If I did, I'll add it in the description, or you can read the documentation as well. And I sincerely hope this is going to be very useful to you. It is very useful to me, so I hope it's going to be as useful to you. And thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.